Hello and welcome to Stay Paid, the sales and marketing podcast from ReminderMedia, where we bring you the actionable advice to help you grow your business so you can live a life of freedom tomorrow, but only if you take action today. My name is Joshua Stike, Vice President of Marketing here at ReminderMedia, and today I am joined by Andrea Tremper, our all things social manager here at ReminderMedia.
That's me.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi, Josh.
How are you today?
I'm so good.
That is fantastic. So Andrea is here for two reasons. Number one, Luke is at a conference this week in Las Vegas. So I think he won the the coin flip on that one.
Yeah, he did.
He's in Vegas enjoying some time, but also helping to promote the magazine to some conference attendees down there.
Enough. I feel like I won the lottery.
That's right. You're here with
I'm sitting
us.
right here.
Yes. And the second reason is that we're talking about social media productivity today and all week, really, on all of our social media channels. So I thought it'd be fun to bring in none other than our own local social media expert, pick her brain in terms of how she stays productive on social media. Mm-hmm. I joke all the time because I literally cannot check Facebook here at work. Like if I log in to look at like our analytics or check out our page,
you're gone.
I am gone.
Yeah, you're
lost.
I
am so distractible. Mm-hmm. I end up watching.
Yeah.
I was just explaining before we came on the podcast on the live about a video that I was watching about this cat and its owner. And I'm like, I get so distracted by it. I think probably a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about when to post, what to post, and why you should be posting. But I guess in general, since social media is your job. It
is my job.
Why don't you start off by just giving some idea or some tips to the listeners on how do you avoid the distractions?
So number one tip, don't be Josh. I mean, I can't tell you how many meetings we've gone into, and don't take this as a complaint because, I like it. I need to just kind of chill out for a little bit, but we'll go into a meeting and start watching some video, or we'll go to look something up, and we're like deep into Facebook at this point. And then we get distracted. So the whole point of this podcast is to make you more productive. So step one, don't distract yourself by scrolling through Facebook. Try and kind of get to where you need to be immediately. Like Josh said, if you're going in to look at analytics, go straight to your insights page, and we're going to dive a little deeper on exactly what you should be kind of tracking and looking into. But have a schedule. That's my main thing. If you don't have a schedule, you're not going to do it. So we'll talk a little bit more about what to post and when to post, but that big thing is a scheduler.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there. It's like with anything in life, it is so much less complicated and there's so much less possibility for distraction. I mean, even when you wake up in the morning, if you don't have a schedule for what you're going to plan to do the next day, I think I was listening to the podcast that we did with Eric Feng. And if you guys haven't checked that out, it's a great podcast to go back and listen to. I've actually listened to it twice. So far.
It's really good.
And he was like, the number one thing he said that he does every day that helps him be successful is the night before, he will sit down and plan out his morning. He will actually plan out what he's going to eat, what he's going to read, how much time he's going to spend in the morning in meditation or prayer or whatever that might be for you. And I think it's the same thing here is you have to boil it down to a system. To be productive in anything, you have to boil it down to a system. And one of the reasons why people aren't building a system for social media is because they don't know what to do. And the reason that they don't know what to do is because they don't know where to start or what to post.
The what, how, and why of social media.
There's so much content out there and so many different ideas, even as we were scrolling through things like when to post.
Right.
And we're going to go through now kind of when to post and what social platforms to focus on. But every single source you look at is going to have a different suggestion.
Right. And it's going to be different per industry, what platform. So your analytics are going to look different than ours. Right. Across the board.
Yeah.
But so let's just dive right into that. So when to post, I'm going to use us as an example because like you said, it's my job to be in our social media all day. So Facebook and Instagram tells us that we should post at 9 p.m. And that does make sense. A lot of our client base is in California, so they're 3 hours behind us. So a lot of times we'll post later in the evening to make sure we're getting that client base as well.
Now, you're saying you should put why? Why should we post at 9 o'clock? What are you looking at specifically?
So on Facebook, if you have a business page, you can go right into the Insights page, tab at the top, and that will literally tell you when your audience is online. Okay. So it's a little graph and it looks like a wave, and our peak is 9 o'clock on the nose every night. No matter what day of the week, it's 9 o'clock. And you can see it kind of dips around 3 p.m., which people are starting to kind of finish work up, and then it starts to raise back up as people are leaving work, getting home from work, things like that. I'm going to give you a little bit of a pro tip though. Just test, because if you post at the same time every night and you're not seeing a result, well then fix something. Something's not working. So just test everything. We test all the time, especially on Instagram. Instagram also tells us that 9 o'clock is our kind of key point to post. We post twice a day on almost all of our platforms. So one of those will be around those times, and the other one I kind of throw around all the time to see what does better. Sometimes it's in the morning, sometimes it's in the afternoon. It just kind of depends on what content you're posting too. Yeah. But kind of look into that. So go into your Facebook's tab, your Insights tab on your Facebook business page, and you can see right there. It'll show you under people and under followers when your audience is even online and where they are, what their demographics are, everything like that, location.
Another great thing to try, in addition, if you don't have those insights yet or you're not using a business page, is to look when other people that you want to be like.
So like model after.
Right. When are they posting? And if they're posting an Instagram story at 11 o'clock at night, post an Instagram story at 11 o'clock or 11:01. Try and, or 10:59. Like try and capture and ride the train. You know,
yeah, absolutely. And tag
the
them.
attention that they're capturing, and tag them as well, because you know that at that point they're active. But if we start looking at the different social media platforms that we all have the access to, I think the other big thing obviously is going where your customers or where your clients are and what your audience is. And this is another thing from Eric Fang. I'm just his podcast is fresh in my mind. He was just dropping gold. So
he's on our social media today.
He's on our social media today, but he really said it best when he said that your customer is the boss and you have to go where they go. And to decide who you want to influence, the two metrics are, and I thought this was great, if you're having trouble figuring out what do I want to say, who do I connect with, the two things that you want to think about when defining your audience in your head is who do you have access to and who do you have intimate knowledge of. So whatever that audience is that you have access to and that you have intimate knowledge of, look at where they are. If they're on Facebook, spend your time, spend your efforts on Facebook first. You can always add in other platforms later. If they're on Instagram, look and really dive deep into all of the different things and creative ideas that people are doing on Instagram.
Yeah, definitely.
I pulled some numbers here real quick. If you are posting on Facebook, the recommendation is to post once per day, which I think goes against a lot of what we think.
Yeah.
We think that social media, especially with Facebook, where your organic reach can be so poor because of the way the Facebook algorithms work. It says really anything over than one per day will seem spammy. The people who are engaging with your content or really want to see your content.
Right. We tend to think that post is the way to go when it's not really.
Right.
Just track what KPIs you're kind of tracking on that post. Will tell you a lot.
Twitter is a different model. The recommendation is 15 tweets per day. But when you think about it and what Twitter's used for, it's used for news, it's used for following celebrities. So if it might not be your audience, but if it is something that you're doing, keep in mind, that's the investment that you need to decide if you're willing to make going into something like that. Am I willing to post 15 tweets per day?
Right.
Because the value of Twitter is getting that retweet, that coveted retweet. Most retweets happen within an hour after the original tweet happens. Yeah. So you literally have to be on there almost.
That's your job. Like if we wanted to fully invest in Twitter, that would be my entire job would be Twitter, and we would have somebody else doing everything else. Like that's how much of an investment you have to make. So I mean, you make a good point though. All the news outlets you look at, I mean, even E-News, they're tweeting constantly. If something is breaking news, then they're going to be on there all the time. However, I feel like
a lot of our tweets per hour.
Yeah, there are 15 Instagram posts per hour, man. They're all over the place. But most of the listeners that are listening to this are not probably in the news industry. And if you are, let us know what your tactics are. But if you aren't, I would say I agree. You have to invest a lot on Twitter, but just get on there and use Twitter as engagement too, to kind of connect. You can use that as like a relationship platform versus a reach platform.
It's a great way to connect with other influencers. Right. I would think Instagram in a way has kind of taken over that with the direct messaging that you can do on Instagram. Right. But it is still certainly a great way to connect with other people that you want to start building a relationship with. Speaking of Instagram, recommended 1 to 2 posts per day. Again, another thing where it's like if we're not seeing engagement, automatically we want to increase the volume. But major brands are posting 1.5 times per day, not more. Times to post We look at like 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. would be one time to post. Another time would be to post, and this would be scheduled out, would be 2 a.m.
Yep.
If you look at our ebook that we're going to include with this, or our success guide, we actually say 7 p.m. on Fridays. So it's just another example of how everywhere you look, it's going to be different, and why it's so important to kind of track your own audience.
Right.
LinkedIn is another big one. 1 post per day is recommended. Curate or reshare a post every other day. So that means you don't have to come up with something unique every single day. You can curate, which is finding content from somebody else or resharing somebody else's content. But again, no more than once per day on LinkedIn. And then Pinterest is the other big one that we looked up. Pinterest is recommended to do 11 pins per day. And we can actually walk them through ideas for posting on Pinterest and how you could fill those 11 pins per day, probably easier than you think. But the question kind of becomes, is your audience on Pinterest? Right.
So if you, again, you're going to have to dive deeper into that. But when you think about Pinterest, if you're not thinking about it from a business perspective, you're kind of just thinking about, oh, well, I'll go on here and I'll repin things that I like. But if you're business minded, you're going to be like, well, I need to think about what my clients are looking for. So we have an American Lifestyle and a ReminderMedia Pinterest that are full of content. And if you truly are struggling with that, just go on our Pinterest and repin stuff that we have. And you can make that into an Instagram post. You can make that into a Facebook post. You can take all of those blogs and turn them into stories for your Instagram story. I mean, we have blogs on there that'll lay out 5 different points for an open house idea, your fall open house ideas, and you can turn that into a story, and then you can turn around and pin the same thing and lead them back to a blog.
If you missed what Andrea said there, she's literally gave you 8 pieces of content from one single blog post. So you take the blog post, you put it into a Pinterest board. Then you take that blog post and you copy the image from the header of the image and you make that a part of your Instagram story. Then the second slide on your Instagram story is just to sit there and type out tip number 1. If the blog post has an image to go with it, include that image with it. If it doesn't, go on Google Images, find an image that goes along with it, or just put it on a colored
Instagram
background.
Stories,
And you do that for the 5 tips that are within that blog post. That's going to take you, how long? 15 minutes?
Yeah.
15 minutes of time to go on. Once you know your sources, once you have those lined up, to actually go through and create that. Another great idea for Pinterest, if you are in something like real estate, would be to sit down, create 7 Pinterest boards.
Yep.
Right? Call one landscaping ideas. Call one best basement remodels. I just did my basement. Redid my basement recently. Guess where I got the idea for the Waynes? I did board and batten wainscoting.
Not Google.
Guess where I got the idea?
Pinterest.
I got it from Pinterest. So create these boards. Call one living room decorating tips. Call one enticing entryways. Call one real estate news and tips. Then find your sources and set a schedule to post to each board once per day. And right there is 7 posts.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you go on, actually, if I'm going to plug our stuff because we're going to spend time giving you what we offer because it's a resource for you. So whether you use our stuff
we make our content,
or you use somebody else's stuff, it's just this is one resource for you. You have 86 pins. If you go to pinterest.com/ReminderMedia/real-estate, I believe. There's 86 real estate pins right there. That's literally 86 days of content that you can get scheduled.
Literally by hitting a repost button. And then if you take the extra step, which you should be doing, cut that into weeks worth of content. You could take one pin and turn it into a week's worth of content.
How do you schedule can you schedule for Pinterest? This is me not knowing.
I don't think you can schedule for Pinterest.
Okay.
You can schedule for Instagram and Facebook. You need a separate program for Instagram, but we can walk through that too. But I don't believe you can for Pinterest. Maybe from a third party.
Instagram is another great opportunity to take those blog posts, like we said, cut them into stories, put them up. Also think about how you can bring your other marketing into your Instagram images. I know Andy Dane Carter, who we have a podcast coming up with, I believe next Friday.
Yeah, sometime in October.
But he actually will take his American Lifestyle magazine every issue, and he just posted today.
Yeah.
But he'll flip through the magazine, or he'll show off the magazine in a unique way. We have another customer, Min Win, who will post multiple ALM photos on Instagram. Check him out. It's min_realtor, I believe, on Instagram. Yep. But he will carry his magazine around the city of Philadelphia. Every single person he meets with, he'll have them pose with the magazine. Then he'll take that, he'll tag the location. Yep. He'll tag the establishment, the restaurant that they're in. He'll tag the person. He'll tag everything. And he'll do that a dozen different times with one issue. Recently, he actually took one of his front and side cover letters and wrote a thank you note to his followers. Yeah. As just a cool way. It was awesome. And it's another piece of content. And why are you making this content? You're making this content because you're looking to connect with people, because people buy from those who they know, like, and trust, right? So the more that I can know about you, the more that I can get to know you and like you and fall into your tribe, I'm ultimately going to trust you. And when I have the need that you provide, I'm going to be looking to use your services. Well, and I do want to, I know that on a previous podcast we've talked about this, but Josh talked about tagging people on stories and on posts and geotagging your location using hashtags. You can do all of that on stories and hide all of that so it doesn't look spammy. I know that we've talked about that. Yeah, so if you just, you can pinch it out to make it wider or smaller, you just pinch it really, really tiny. So we do that a lot. You can geotag your location. Perfect example, we just reposted Andy Dane Carter's post this morning of his American Lifestyle magazine. And that's a great opportunity for you. If you have a client that you send a magazine to and they tag you in it, repost it. It's a piece of content that you didn't even have to put work into. You're literally just reposting it. Right. So thinking about then in terms of what to post, what kind of topic, how do you stay on track? Because it's so hard to go in and just be creative. Right. One of the hardest things in the world is just to sit down at a set time and be creative. So you need to give yourself a framework. One of the frameworks that we use, something that you can use, is thinking about, why do you go on social media? You go on social media to learn something, so to be educated. Yep. You go on social media to be inspired, or you go on social media to be entertained. Yep. So if you lay that out as those are your 3 areas of topics that you need to hit on, it's as simple as this. You go in, you put together a spreadsheet, and this is going to be like our action item at the end. Yeah. But it's going to be build a spreadsheet, identify those 3 categories, come up with 2 post ideas for whatever social media platform you're on. So if you're on Instagram, if you're doing Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter, list those out. If you're doing Facebook, Pinterest, and LinkedIn, list those out. Come up with 2 ideas that educate, 2 ideas that inspire, 2 ideas that entertain. Think of it as a Venn diagram. Draw a Venn diagram. Then come up with two ideas that educate and inspire. So the crossover in the middle. So this goes back to if you're handy, right? And we talked about this on a past podcast. But if you're a handyman, if you're good with plumbing, you love this analogy. I need to look up more plumbing terms because I love the analogy, but I don't know any of the terms. Yeah, it's all right. And if you have a good personality, so you could potentially get all 3 with this. Yeah. But if you show somebody how to fix their plumbing and you go live or you post a story, you post a LinkedIn post on this, and you're educating them because you're teaching them how to do something new. Yep. You're inspiring them because they're looking at you and saying, man, if he can do it, I can too. Or if she can do it, I can too. And then if you have a great personality, you have an opportunity to entertain them as well. Right. Now, if you don't have a great personality, that's okay because you still educated and inspired somebody to do something new. You got 2 of those 3. Right. And it's the same thing with the Pinterest content that we talked about a little bit before. When you put together landscaping ideas and you put together new kitchen remodel ideas, what's that going to make people do? It's going to inspire them to create a new space. What are they going to start thinking if they're inspired to create a new space? They're going to start thinking about, does my current space fit my needs? Right. If their current space doesn't fit their needs, what are they going to start thinking about? Should I start looking to move? Should I move out of an apartment into a home? Should I look for a bigger home? Should I be downsizing? Whatever that might be. If you're the one that has captured their content and has given them the inspiration as a real estate agent, they are going to ultimately use you. Yeah. You're top of mind for them. And this could be with any other industry. We talked about using it for insurance agents. If you are doing the same thing in your business where you're educating, inspiring, and entertaining, you have an opportunity there, no matter what they come to you for, to either refer them out to someone in your network or to help them with the service that they're looking for. Exactly. And kind of riffing off of that, you can take that a step further and do a poll. Use your Pinterest things if you're looking to move. Are you looking to move? Tiffany Beltran that we had on a couple of weeks ago does that all the time. She'll post a picture on her stories and then say, are you looking to move, yes or no? And she DMs all of the people that say yes. The polls are the perfect way to go from running a passive social media program to a proactive one. And the reason why you're doing this, and this really brings us to why you're posting on social media in the first place. You have to go in with anything in your business. You have to go in with your goals. And ultimately the goal in social media isn't to get 10,000 followers. It feels good. It increases your reach. Obviously there's benefit there.
It sure does feel good, but
the goal is to
to
take online interactions and to turn them into offline conversations. And the only way to do that is to go one-to-one. So if you're posting a poll where people are responding to, and I think one of the questions that the example she used was like, are you buying or renting?
Right.
I think was like the poll. Every single person that said renting, she DM'd.
Yeah.
And she asked them, why are you renting? For two reasons. Number one, she's genuinely curious. She wants to create conversations, wants to build relationships with people, and is genuinely curious. And then number two, it's an opportunity to see if there is a potential to take that conversation. I'd love to grab a coffee with you and learn a little bit more about what you're looking for.
Yeah. And
turning that into an offline conversation, an offline interaction where you can then do two things. It's tracking your results. How many polls do I have to run to get how many responses?
Right.
How many responses do I have to reply to get how many conversations? How many conversations do I have to have online in a DM to turn that into a meeting? How many meetings do I have to turn that into a client?
To have a listing.
And if you're tracking that and you can build the formula, then you know, like we're telling you, I don't even know if we read you the numbers on how often to post every day.
It's a suggestion.
It's just general industry. But if you actually go back and look at your numbers, then you know exactly how many stories you have to post. You know exactly how many polls you have to create.
Right.
And it shows you exactly how much time you have to invest. And the other thing with something like this that I would recommend is, like anything where you're building a system, you have to give it time to play out. Give yourself at least 90 days to play this thing out, this commitment. I would say longer, but at least 90 days. It's a habit, right? It takes, 66 days to create a habit.
I was going to say 21.
Some people say a year.
Again, suggestion.
That's about, 99% of statistics are made up on the spot.
I do know that. Because you have said that before.
66 days to form a habit, but without the system, you're not going to know what to do. So you're going to go in blind and you're going to get distracted by the cat videos on Facebook. So go in, write out where you're going to be posting, how often you're going to be posting, and then schedule time in your week to either schedule that ahead of time through things like using Facebook publishers. We use a program called OnlyPoll.
We use Facebook Scheduler, the built-in native Facebook scheduler for our Facebook posts, our blogs, our videos, everything like that. It does exactly what we need, so it's easy. It's built in right into Facebook. You do need a business profile, a business account to do that. We do use OnlyPoll. It's a program for Instagram to schedule out our posts. But I mean, Hootsuite is also good. We have Iconosquare. There's a ton of different resources out there that you can do free trials. You can try different things out. But going back a little bit into testing, the worst that is going to happen is it's not going to work and you have to figure something else out. So not testing something just because you're scared it's not going to work is not a valid excuse. Like, get over it. You have to just test. And if you're scared people aren't going to answer your DM, that's literally the worst that's going to happen is they're not going to answer you, or they're going to say no, they're not interested. Okay, well then you move on and you know that that's an analytic that you have to track next time.
Yeah, no, it's a perfect example of how it's all about the conversion rates, right?
Yeah.
You set your goal, you know what you want to accomplish. Looking at how much time you're going to invest in this, set your goal for what you want to get out of it.
Yeah.
And then look at your conversion rates and you know exactly how many DMs you have to send, exactly how much you have to post.
Schedule out, systematize your thing. That's the whole point of this, is being productive. You have to systematize. What did you say yesterday? You have to have a goal and you have to have a system to get to your goal, and then you have to be determined enough.
You got to have the goals.
Yep.
Right? Then you got to have the system to accomplish those goals. Then you have to have the discipline to stick to your systems. And that's where the habit comes into play. That's where the time frame comes into play. It's just like going to the gym. How many of us has gone to the gym in January and we've stopped by February?
Yeah.
You have once you have your system in place and you've committed to yourself, and think of it this way, every minute that you spend on social media, is money that you are investing in your business.
Absolutely.
Whether you're not paid by hour, but whether you think about it or not, you're paying yourself for sitting there on social media.
Oh yeah.
So what are you doing with that time? If you're focused on getting the content scheduled, this is why.
Are you being productive, or are you just kind of messing around and scrolling through Facebook?
This is why finding the sources is so important, because you're not going to be able to come with 14 unique things to post every day. But if you go to something like AmericanLifestyleMag.com and you search the real estate content, or you search the recipe content, what is it? 86% of all content shared on social media is food, home, and lifestyle. Or something. I think that's in our ebook, our success guide that we'll include with the podcast. But that's why we provide this stuff, and that's just one source. If you're real estate, go to Inman. There's great content there that you can curate
your content from Inman.
You can curate the content from there. Just have a list of where you're going to get that from, and then schedule the time to do that every single day.
Yeah. And we have downloads too, that we have all this. I know we said we're going to include the success guide. We have weekly planners. We have a social media weekly planner that's a printable for you that we'll include in this too.
That's a good one.
And that one is brand spanking new.
Social media weekly. So is that a PDF? Is it an Excel? Like, what is that?
It's a PDF download, and it's a printable that you can fill out. You can print it out, and it's just a scheduler for you to take action on your goals. If you're not going to write them down, if you're not going to plan it out, it's not going to happen. So this is specifically for you to say, okay, this is what my goals are for this week, whether it be engaging with this amount of clients on social media, following this many number of hashtags, figuring out what KPIs, all of those are listed out for you. And it's just a place for you to keep track of them, because if you're not keeping track, they're not going to happen.
I sat down with Andrea yesterday and we looked at our spreadsheet of our social media scheduler.
We sure did.
It's impressive. It is impressive. The everything that is planned out and the content and the cool thing about it, I think, was a lot of it's just a framework. A lot of it's just, hey, we need something on this day about this thing.
Right.
And then it becomes, all right, cool. What are we going to do?
How are we going to get it done?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So there you have it, guys. Hopefully that gives you some good information. Hopefully it was inspirational, entertaining,
and educating,
and educational.
All three.
I mean,
I think it was
in one for your social media productivity. Thank you so much for listening, Andrea. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
If you liked what you heard, please go to iTunes and rate us 5 stars and leave a comment for how you stay productive on social media. Make sure to tell someone else about the podcast today. It really helps us get this out here. We're doing this podcast and all of this content for free, so we'd love if you would give us a share on that. If you'd like to get hold of me, or you'd like to get hold of Luke, please email us at podcast@ReminderMedia.com, or find us on Instagram or LinkedIn. And of course, you can always check out Reminder Media and Andrea's work on all the socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, at Reminder Media on all of those channels. For this episode of Stay Paid, I am Joshua Stike. I'm Andrea Tremper. And guys, I'm going to do the action item for today. The action item for you is to number one is to download the schedule template that we're going to provide to you in the podcast notes. But also create a spreadsheet, maybe even create a simple spreadsheet down the left-hand side. In the first column, list the next 30 days. Across the top, list out Facebook, Instagram 1, Instagram 2, Instagram story, LinkedIn, whatever sites you're posting on. Create the headers for that, for educate, inspire, and entertain after that. Then just simply sit down, book 2 hours. That's it. In your schedule this week, where you can sit down alone or with a partner, plan out your social media posts, create a theme for each weekday. That's what we do. Document the weekend. Create motivational Mondays. Yep. What's a good Tuesday? Taco Tuesday is definitely good. And guess what? We have tons of taco recipes, so the work there is done. Testimonial Tuesday. It's an opportunity to share a testimony that one of your clients have given you. So take action on that. Make sure that you're going through and planning out just the next 30 days. Commit to that. Follow it all the way through. We would recommend going longer, but just start with that. Remember, guys, the difference between a top producer and a mediocre producer is top producers take action. So take action on that today.